angels willing to hold us in their arms. When our worth was stone or ashes, and we both passed on. Let forever mean forever and carry on.
Good afternoon. Well, the day has seemed to be a little less hectic, I guess, so far anyway. I have to put that disclaimer there, so far. News on the vaping front. Some bans have taken effect today, like Michigan. We are starting to see on social media the effect that has over the course of the past hour or so. There have been individuals going to one of the online retailers and just really raising hell. Because if you go, and I don't mind naming the company, I've been a member of their Facebook group for a long time. I've actually never ordered from them, to be honest, but one of the top-notch companies, Giant Vapes. And they're highly upset because flavored e-liquid is banned in Michigan, but not vaping altogether. So they're upset because they can't go on the website and order other things like, say, coils and stuff like that, supplies, aside from the flavored e-liquids. And, man, I'm telling you, and this is just an informational thing for folks that don't know. Not all website store scripts, not all of them will allow you to just go absolutely crazy with settings. Now, I don't know what kind of script they use. I use something called Hika Shop, and I use it for a reason, and it's because the sky's the limit on what you can do in the back end with that. However, a lot of it, to be honest, is above my head on how to do it. However, when it comes to items, say, for instance, that would be allowed to ship to certain states and not to other states, you can most definitely set that up in the back end of Hika Shop. However, it would take a long time. You would have to go through each individual product. First of all, you would have to set up another warehouse. That's what they would call it in the back end of Hika Shop. You would have to set up another warehouse, and then within that warehouse, you would have to set up restrictions on states or cities or whatever. And then you'd have to go into every single one of those items that was allowed or that wasn't allowed to ship into the certain states, and you would have to change the warehouse technically that they shipped from whatever it is now to the new restricted warehouse. I mean, it could be done, but I'm telling you, it would take quite a while, and it would take a bit of trickery, and you would have to go back through and you would have to double check every single item that you have. And you're talking about a company that has hundreds of items. It would take a long time to implement that. So you've got people that are really, I mean, just really reading these guys the riot act over something that they're not to blame for. In fact, Giant Vapes, they don't even know if they're going to be a business within a couple of weeks. They have no idea. These people don't know how they're going to pay their mortgages, their power bill, and yet people are coming on their social media pages and lambasting them for something that they don't have any control over. It's sad, and it reminds me, it's very reminiscent of the people that would burn down Little Caesars because they're mad at the police department for killing an unarmed person. Very reminiscent of it. The sad thing is it's those types of individuals that usually won't lift a finger when it comes to advocacy or when it comes to supporting the rights of another. All they're worried about is them. And so, like I had told them, I'd explained all of that to the folks over there at Giant Vapes, to the patrons, about both the way the website scripts work and as well as the mindset of people like that. And like I told them, you won't be missing anything. In fact, your load will be lighter because you won't be dragging around dead weight. Because when it comes to advocacy, when it comes to fighting for rights, dead weight's dead weight, and you don't need it. But anyway, so we're starting to see that backlash come in, and I figured it would happen, and it is indeed happening. If they were to take their angst and they would direct it properly, maybe we could get something done. See, right now, we have, for the most part, a community, and when I say community, I'm talking about the vaping community, that are just like making phone calls and signing petitions and writing emails and all of that, just like crazy. But it's not going to get anywhere. And I keep saying that over and over and over. You're talking about money. You're talking about a lot of money that these states are losing out on with the MSA agreement. And so petitions and emails and phone calls is not going to offset that. However, if things, let me word it this way. If things got out of hand, okay, and I will just leave it at that because I don't want to get myself into trouble, nor am I trying to recommend anything, okay? Need to put out those disclaimers. But if things were to, in a sense, get out of hand, now that may possibly have a politician thinking twice, But we have to change how we are approaching this. And so I am happy to say that there's been rallies that have been scheduled and are popping up in quite a few different places, as well as a rally that they are getting set up for Washington, D.C. So that is good. That is a step in the right direction, right? We're not going to be able to fight this battle unless we go to their battleground, right? We're not going to be able to fight this from behind a computer or on a phone. It's just not going to happen. So I'm glad to see that these rallies are starting to pop up. That is a definite step in the right direction. And hopefully, I am very hopeful that maybe some people are holding on to the idea that if you go there and you essentially occupy that area and refuse to leave until they knock it off, this is the most mind-blowing thing, right? I want you to weigh something in your mind, okay? The whole Roe versus Wade thing, and I'm not getting into a debate about that. That's a moral issue. An individual has to make that decision for themselves, I suppose. But if that can be deemed constitutional, right? If it can be deemed that it is your constitutional right to take the life of a baby inside of the womb, then come on. How is vaping, the choice to vape, how is that not a constitutionally protected right? It's not killing anybody, and the only ones that have died from it are the ones that have gotten a hold of these black market THC cartridges, and that's been proven and proven and proven. So it's just one of those things. It's, but I expected to see this backlash. I didn't think that we were going to get by without it. And, it's going to be an uphill battle. It is truly, truly going to be an uphill battle. I think we're up for it. I really do. This anger that I'm speaking of from these bans taking effect, this is important. This is important because this is what's going to give some individuals. Now, the one I'm talking about in particular, I don't think he's going to be motivated to do anything for anybody but himself. But some individuals are going to use this type of motivation to actually put it into activism. And that has at least some opportunity of helping, as long as it's a type of activism that the politicians can't just turn off like a TV set. That is what's key. That is what's key. When it comes to these protests and stuff like that, where people just show up for a few hours and go home, the politicians don't care about that, right? Because guess what? You go home. Once you go home, once you leave those grounds, you are no longer their problem, and they don't care. Out of sight, out of mind. But when you have a group of activists or advocates that decide to stick around and not leave, well, then that becomes a sore real quick, real quick. Now, if those individuals are protected while enacting their First Amendment rights, in other words, if they're protected from being kicked off, the property or kicked off the grounds, now you're talking. Now you're talking. So we have to do this one step at a time. I'm the type of person that I don't want to just walk before I crawl, man. I want to be in a full-on run before I even get out of the womb, right? So, and that's my mindset. That's just the way that I am. That's the way I'm wired. I want to take off running, and I want to go at this because I already see the solution. I see the problem. I see the solution. And I don't see, I'm all about productivity. I don't see playing around and just, I don't know. I'm not big about semantics and I'm not big about building up to something. I'm just one of those people that like to get shit done. I'm just being real here. I like to get shit done. And I know what it's going to take. And I don't like the idea of building up to that. But I understand that I try to understand that for most people, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take building up to the level of doing this. So we're in the right direction. We're in the right direction. The most important thing is that we can get people out there to these locations, to these rallies, and that hopefully they act sensible. And I was pretty impressed with the group of people that showed up in Ohio. That was for a first time rally called at the last minute. That was pretty impressive. So I'm anxious to see what the future has to hold when it comes to this. This is sad. This whole situation is sad that we the people even have to battle so hard to be able to live free, right? It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. But so that's what's going on. I don't have really any more news for you as far as any new bands or anything like that. I know a lady had posted earlier a form letter she got back from Dick Durbin from here in the state of Illinois. She got a form letter back. Apparently he has put forth legislation trying to ban flavors, and he's going after a lot of stuff, flavored cigars and you name it. So it's coming down the pike for Illinois. So, and I knew that. I knew that there was legislation that was put forth. I believe they're coming back here before too long, a couple more weeks or so. They're coming back to restart legislative session. And so I'm sure they'll get the ball rolling pretty quick on this because of who and what's behind it. So, it's crazy. It truly is crazy. But reading through the comments over there at Giant Vapes, this is, this is sad. It truly is sad. Okay, and so Mike Runshie, which is the gentleman that owns Giant Vapes, he actually just replied. Let me read you his response real quick. He said, boy, people are making some pretty bold assumptions here. Do you really think we want to turn all of our sales off to an entire state? The reality of the situation is that we have limitations due to the back end of our website. We currently have no way to restrict specific products to specific states. So unfortunately, if something gets banned there, like flavors in Michigan, we have to shut the entire state down. What we are doing is working with SFATA and VTA to fight these bans with everything we've got. I'm personally fighting my ass off for every single one of you, so get your facts straight before you shit on my company. So, and I'm going to respond to him real quick after I love his comment. One second here. I'm sorry. Okay, sorry about that. I wanted to let him know about the Hike a Shop script. And, nobody could expect them to go to that because that's literally building an entirely new website. And, yeah, just, nightmare in its own. Then they would have to re-put in all their products. And, yeah, you can't really expect that from a company. So that's a little much to ask, But I wanted him to have that information because without that information, you don't even have that option. So, it's it is what it is. It is what it is. But I wanted to respond to that. Sorry for the dead air while I did that. But I'm trying to help in as many different ways as I can in this issue. And if I've got knowledge to help somebody, I certainly will help them. So anyway, wow, it is. It's a mess. It's a nightmare, and it's completely uncalled for. And what can you do? In this country, we have a government that is absolutely abominable. We truly do. Our forefathers had designed a country with absolute pure genius. 3 different branches, checks and balances everywhere. But even with all of that, mankind has figured out how to corrupt it. And I don't believe there is a system that you could build that mankind couldn't figure out how to corrupt, how to tear apart, how to find the loopholes, and how to do their fellow human beings as wrongly as they possibly can for personal gain. I don't think there's a system out there that you could design that's not going to happen. It's going to happen in capitalism. It's going to happen in communism. It's going to happen in every ism that there was. And our forefathers actually, in a sense, created a country that really technically couldn't have been corrupted unless you corrupted their platform, their base. And that is what happened. Their platform or their base had to be corrupted before all of this could have taken place. Because let me give you an example of that, okay? They didn't design capitalism, okay? That was a bunch of crooks that designed capitalism, okay? Because that was a system that could be corrupted. And I firmly believe that those that came up with the idea and put it in place knew that it could be corrupted and probably were the ones that intended on corrupting it. Our forefathers, let me be perfectly clear here, our forefathers' platform was on free trade, period. Free trade. That means if I had a product and you wanted to buy it, wasn't nothing stopping you. Nothing stopping you from buying it from me, and nothing stopping me from selling it to you, no matter what it was. No matter if it was a bottle of water or a rock of crack cocaine. It doesn't matter. Free trade. And that is the way our forefathers set up this country. And if it were kept within that free trade, none of this would have been an issue. Neither would all the nonsense that they have set up with taxes, for instance. Can you believe taxes? That's a whole nother issue. You go out and you buy a car, brand new, right off the dealer's lot, right? You pay an exorbitant amount of taxes to buy that vehicle, okay? Then, down the road, you decide you're going to sell that car. So you sell that car, and you go to sell it to an individual. Now, I'm from the state of Illinois. I can only tell you how the state of Illinois works. But if I were to buy that used vehicle from somebody that had bought it new and paid taxes on it when they bought it new, when I went to register that vehicle in my name, guess what? I got to pay taxes on it. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if that's not double taxation, I have no idea what is. Okay? And it just goes on and on and on, right? If I turn around and sell that car to somebody else, when they go to register it, they're going to have to pay taxes again. Okay? How many times do we have to pay taxes on the same item? It's crazy. It's crazy. And then you got your property taxes that you have to pay every single year, year in and year out. right? Every single year. Yeah, this country has been completely corrupted. Completely. It's a shame. It is truly a shame. They have went into every single nook and cranny into what our founders had created and found ways to corrupt it. Found ways to corrupt it. And it's a shame. It's a damn shame. And there's only one way to fix it. But it's not popular. It's not popular because people might miss out on their favorite TV show, or they might not be able to buy their beer. And it's sad. It's sad. We could have so much better, but we're going to have to sacrifice to get there. And that's the long and short of it. No matter what, we're going to sacrifice. Now, whether or not we decide to sacrifice and have nothing in the end, or if we decide to sacrifice and come out on top, we are going to sacrifice. I assure you of that. Because we the people have been sold out. Literally sold down the river. Like you would never believe. We have a monetary and a currency collapse right around the corner. Not anything going to stop that. I'm telling you. Keep an eye on the headlines. You know, you've got other countries that are literally trying to financially get away from the United States as far as they can, whether it's in trade with other countries or whether it's in bonds that they hold. They're trying to get away from the United States and the U.S. dollar because they see what is coming. And the United States, the government, is doing everything they can. They're kicking and clawing and biting to be able to hold on to that almighty dollar. And they're actually putting more nails in its coffin. Telling you, it's a limited time thing. Limited time thing. Now, I think that there's a global interest that is behind this, because I firmly believe that they want to initiate a global currency. Have no doubt of that. And I do believe it's going to be a cryptocurrency. But we the people can stop all of this. All we have to do is stand up. It's all we have to do is stand up. Their board game is resting on all of our backs. And if we stand up, their game pieces go flying everywhere. And their game is over. We just have to stand. We just have to stand. And you know what? Our founding fathers did it over a tax on tea. Now, that wasn't the only thing. In fact, that wasn't the most important things. Okay? The British trying to take their weapons was probably one of the biggest things. But they had already had enough. And when they announced that tax on tea, they had had it. They had absolutely had it. And there was a reaction to that. The Boston Tea Party. Right? Which pissed off the Britain extremely bad. Which led to the series of events that led to the Revolutionary War. But it was a tea tax. The straw that broke the camel's back was a tea tax. Is the straw that's going to break the camel's back this time a flavor ban on electronic cigarettes? I wouldn't discount it. I absolutely would not discount it. It is very possible. There are some areas there now, some states are starting to talk about banning menthol cigarettes. That's just going to help us, because that's adding more people to the cause. Because right now there is, for the most part, a pretty big divide between vapors and smokers. There's a lot of smokers out there that don't quite want to give up smoking yet, and so they will lash out at vapors, right? And so there's that divide there. And, if they start getting thrown under the bus with the vapors, well, the enemy of my, however that saying goes, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Pretty much. And we're getting there. I'm telling you, this is insane. And this does have the chance to extremely explode. And I hope it does. It's time, folks. It's time. There are so many issues, just like with the Revolutionary War, just like with the Civil War. There are so many issues. People talk about the Civil War, and the only thing you ever hear about is slavery. That was, believe it or not, one of the small issues. One of the very small issues. The Civil War, in effect, was about states' rights. And if you think about it, the same is true about the Revolutionary War. It was about the rights of the people living here on this land. So it comes down to rights. And we are losing more and more of them by the day in this country. You hear me, especially lately, talking a lot more about fathers' rights and how fathers are getting screwed in this country. Absolutely. We have things like civil asset forfeiture, which is just mind-blowing, right? You can be driving down the road and, I don't know, for whatever reason, have a hefty amount of cash in your vehicle. Whatever reason. Maybe you're going to go buy a car with cash, right? Maybe you just like to deal in cash. Maybe that's what the seller requires. And you can be pulled over, and without anything illegal in your car, that police officer can just say, well, you know what? I suspect you of doing something illegal, and confiscate that money. And do you know, you've got about a 99.9% chance you will never see that money again, even if you committed no crime or had no intention of committing a crime. Civil asset forfeiture. And it's rampant. It is rampant. You can go look up the numbers on it on Google. It is unbelievable how much cash that the states rake in on civil asset forfeiture. There is issue after issue after issue. Second Amendment, of course, that's been under attack for a very long damn time, heavily since the 1930s. So I'm telling you, there is a buildup of this. And all it is going to take is one little thing to cause people to snap. I'm telling you, you go screwing with people's addictions, and you're going to piss people off. Right? It's the way it works. It's the way it works. And nicotine is a hell of an addiction. I'm telling you. It's a hell of an addiction. So we'll see what happens. But this just might be enough to be that straw to break the camel's back. And I'm praying for it. I can only say my thoughts on it. I'm praying for it. I'm hopeful. I am truly hopeful that it is. Because we've got some work to do in this country. And again, like I said in the very beginning, I'm not somebody that likes to just sit around and twiddle my thumbs. I like to be productive. I like to be getting somewhere. I like to take off running. So I was ready for this a long time ago. A very long time ago. So we'll just see what happens. We'll see what happens. Let me go ahead and read you guys my normal spiel, and then I'll read you the news headlines, and then we'll get on going with the show. Yesterday, I know I spent most of the show playing a video. I felt it was important to play that video, or else I wouldn't have done it. But anyway, let me run through the normal stuff, and we'll go from there. Got a couple of updates on part of this here. I'll let you know when we get there. Of course, Amazon Associates, we are at 0, and that's because the new month, in a sense, starts today as far as what I see in the back end. So we are at goose eggs on that. I still thank those that took part in last month. That is amazing. We broke a record last month. That is incredible. Thank you very much. For those that don't know, we're an Amazon affiliate. In the description of the videos and on the homepage of the watchmannews.com, right up top right, is an Amazon affiliate link. If you click that link before you do your shopping on Amazon, your items don't cost you anything more, and it throws a little bit our way. So likewise, we have an Amazon store. That link's also in the description of the videos and right there on our homepage. And that just takes you to an Amazon page with a bunch of different categories with items in those categories. Same thing. It doesn't cost you anything more and throws a little bit our way. Our new method, and the method I have a little bit of an update for you on, is our Teespring. So right now we have 3 items on Teespring. There are 2 more that I'm going to be working on in the coming days. One of them is merchandise that says facts don't care about your feelings. And then I'm also going to do merchandise that says you only have the rights you're willing to enforce and defend. Okay, so I will be working on those 2 different items. I'm going to make it available on as many different of the products at Teespring as possible. Of course, there's not just T-shirts there. There's stickers, there's leggings, there's hoodies, there's all kinds of stuff, tapestries. So there's a bunch of stuff over there on Teespring if you are in the market. I can't wait to get my shirts. I ordered 2 shirts last night, 2 of the Watchman News shirts, and I really can't wait to get them. I know it takes a little while with Teespring unless you put in a rush order. That's okay. I hope I'll be here by the time they get to ship them out. So anyway, the one other way you can help us out at the Watchman News is our PayPal donation link. That's also in the description of the videos and on the homepage right here at thewatchmannews.com. You click on that, it just takes you to our PayPal donation page. You don't have to have a PayPal account. You can just use a debit or a credit card. I always let people know, it says up top, Transforming Disabilities. That is us. It will also say Purpose, the Watchman News donation. That way you know you're in the right place. So I do seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank each and every one of you that help out. I thank all of you. I thank those that aren't able to help out and you just come and you listen. Thank you. Thank you. You're just as important as everybody else. You know, the truth is a very, very important tool. And I do my very, very best to bring you the truth. Absolute, unfettered truth. And I will continue to do that until my last breath. You have my word on that. So anyway, let me get those closed out. Let's do some headlines and go from there. I don't know if I shared this headline from last night or not. Let me have a sip of coffee here. Wow. Yum, yum. Okay. Dutch farmers clog highways and protest at politicians labeling them climate change problem. I think I did read that yesterday, but a headline like that is worth 2 reads, right? A dramatic escalation of violence in Hong Kong. An 18-year-old was shot in the chest at close range. That's getting pretty serious. And, of course, if you've been paying attention to the headlines, the Chinese military has doubled their force in Hong Kong. So expect things to escalate much, much more. Facebook CEO warns breaking up big tech will lead to more election meddling and less censorship will hurt people in leaked audio. I mean, these guys are just out of their damn minds. Just truly, they're out of their minds. Nothing to worry about. French authorities admit over 5,200 tons of chemicals went up in flames during recent blaze in Rouen. I'm sure I'm saying the name of that wrong. North Korea launches what appears to be a missile, says the Japanese Coast Guard. These are from last night, sorry. Alien probe spying on Earth, ? Scientists warn of possible lurkers in our solar system. Damn it, they found me out. Let's see. Police arrest mother in Wisconsin counterfeit vaping case. This is the mother of the 2 individuals that they've already arrested in these black market THC cartridges. So this is their mother. So they took her down too. So it's going to be interesting to see how all that turns out as well. Let's see. Partner in democracy, U.S. takes note of Peru crisis after president and parliament wipe out each other. Kind of an interesting headline. Let's see. This isn't impeachment. It's a coup. Trump warns followers Dems are out for their God-given freedoms and rights. Very popular tweet, or a couple of tweets that are going around today. Even Roy Potter got on today, did a live show today where he was talking about it. I'm sorry, I'm not so convinced. I've learned how these politicians, including Trump, will use people's emotions to be able to energize them. And so what I do is I look at everything and with as little emotion as I possibly can. And I try to keep it that way, especially when it comes to the government. And, I'll tell you what, I'm not buying it. I think he's just trying to energize his base. I think he's trying to buy votes. We'll see. What you want to pay attention to is the actions. Let's see what actions are taken. Okay, let's see if anybody finally gets arrested in all of this mess. Because I'll tell you what, that's when you know things are being done. When they start indicting these people that have admittedly committed crimes against not only we the people, but the government themselves. When they start arresting and indicting and arresting those people, then you know that you can put those words into action, that it's a real deal. But until then, it's lip service. Plain and simple. It's lip service. Brexit or greedy big pharma, UK pharmacies on a knife edge amid growing drug shortages. It will be quick and dirty. Standoff with India may spark nuclear Armageddon, says Pakistani Kashmir chief says. Pompeo claims Iran is transferring oil off Syrian coast, calls for international response if cargo is delivered to Damascus. I wonder if they're going to try to make this a twofer, right? In other words, they're going to claim that Iran is illegally selling oil to Syria, so that gives us cause to go to war with both Iran and Syria. It's not that far-fetched if you think about it. Russia dumps half its U.S. dollar holdings while boosting gold, yuan, and euro share of Forex reserves. See what I'm talking about? They are really making an effort to get away from the U.S. dollar. And this just isn't Russia. I mean, there are so many countries that are doing this. Russia bets on China with major yuan boost in its foreign currency reserves. We want to know what we're breathing. Rowan residents rally after devastating chemical plant blaze. So they won't even be honest with their citizens as to what kind of chemicals were burning. That is incredible. That is incredible. Let's see. U.S. launches ICBM to demonstrate robust and ready nuclear deterrent. Black swans all around us can seriously weigh on an oil market, says Russian energy minister. Google to face mass action over claims it accessed 4 million iPhone users' data. Crazy. But you know what? Worst case scenario, they'll get a fine that equates to a slap on the wrist, and that'll be the end of it. U.S. move to weaponize its currency is destroying dollar in international trade, says Putin. That's kind of related to what I was saying earlier. Let's see. 3 hurt in vintage World War II plane crash at Connecticut airport. Putin expects Russia to boost LNG output 5-fold to 140 million tons by 2035. Lightning tragedy. Runner dies after being struck near finish line of 50-kilometer endurance race. You want to talk about sucky day Man, run 50 kilometers, get right near the finish line, and get struck by lightning, right? A bad damn day. Let's see. March of anger. Thousands of cops protest in Paris over working conditions, pension reforms, and suicides. Folks, I don't know that we're real super far away from that kind of thing here. Okay? There's a lot going on in our own country when it comes to law enforcement, when it comes to their pensions, when it comes to suicides. A lot going on. But I'm going to be honest with you. I think everybody's being set up. I think the citizens are being set up. I think the citizens are being set up to be angry at the police department. And I think the police department's being set up to not only be angry at the citizens, but being set up in their own professions too. And I think it's going to have a very ugly outcome. I truly do. Because by the time that the police officers are going to need the support of the public, it's not going to be there. Think about that. I think it's a setup. I truly do. And I've been calling that for years now. I think it's a setup. Let's see. And Dow drops 490 points. S&P and NASDAQ both plunge in biggest stock fall since August 23rd. It's absolutely incredible. Let's see. There's a number 3 up there. Let me see. Trump triumphant as New York Times report reveals whistleblower spoke to Shifty Schiff before filing complaint. And lastly here, trade war on Western Front. U.S. slaps 25% tariffs on French wine, Italian cheese, and Scotch whiskey. So there you go. That is the headlines for today. Let me go ahead and close up the monologue, and we'll go from there. For those here for the live show, stick around. Don't go anywhere. We'll be live till 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. For those here for the monologue, or if you're watching the recording later on, thank you very much. As always, God bless you. We love you, and be one with your spirit.